Gimble, Cornfield there. Rock a bandana like Tupac, I've been there. Rock a do-rag or wave cab, I lay my shit.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Team sheet is out, and we really need to talk about that. So let's hit it off here. Big game. Manchester City versus Arsenal. This is the one that's really going to staple Arsenal season, really. If they can win today, that's going to change so much, and that's going to put them in the driving force to have a strong half of the first part of the season. The team sheet is Raya in goal, Zinchenko, Ben White, Saliba and Gabriel back four, and that's the standard. In the midfield now it changes. Jorginho comes in for Havertz, so he plays a role. It looks like maybe a double pivot. So we've got Declan Rice, Jorginho, and then we've got Odegaard playing in front of them. So it does seem to me like it's a 4-2-1-3 maybe. That's what it definitely looks like. So he's sitting Odegaard behind the front three. So the front three is going to be Trossard, probably Trossard on the left, and then Jesus on the right, who replaces Saka, and then Nketiah through the middle. So that's where they're going with this. So there'll be plenty of pressing, in your face, Rondo type football where they'll be hunting Man City, but at the same time, I believe that they'll have to do that positionally, and then they'll have to do that in adjacent to not being over pressing, which is how Pep has beaten them before. They showed against Man United, didn't they, Arsenal and Arteta, that the system that they ran could be exposed on the counter-attack, and in the second half, Arteta made managerial changes, and the tactics then is where he sat off on Onana a bit and didn't press them as much because Ten Hag was looking to expose them on that back right-hand side. And then so Arteta saw that, made adjustments, and then the press was situational rather than sort of all out. I think that you probably do the same in this game. Guys, we have to think about it before we get on to Saka. The last two times Arsenal's really had success over Manchester City has been where they have laxed off a little bit on the press, and then they've kind of sucked City in a little bit and then sprung them and got them on the counter. That way, Man City aren't as compact, and they don't have all those tight spaces and those gaps filled in. You can be more expressive on the wings, and then you can cut in and then sort of make your attacks through that way. And you've got the players to do that now with Jesus in the team. So I think that that's probably the approach that I would take. That's probably what he might take. If you come out today and you're hell for leather and throwing everything at Man City, then they'll probably pick you off, and just because they're so good at it. And then that means that Foden, Grealish and all those guys have become really important in their build-up play. But moving back onto Arsenal now, no Saka in the starting 11, no Saka in the squad, not on the bench, not in a... And look, guys, Saka had made recoveries 80-85%. On Thursday, I believe, he was 75%. Friday, got some really good details coming out of camp and the medical team. And then on Saturday, yesterday morning, is where I heard, he's 85%. And he could play. But it seems the underlying problem has been where the managers just not managed them properly, and you've just kept him going. And we've talked about this bend but don't break policy, and at some point Saka's going to break. And you had your opportunity against Bournemouth. You didn't rest him, and that was an issue right there because you overplayed him. In the last 3 games, Saka's come off hobbling. In the last 3 games. So as a manager, you put your foot down, you put a stop to it. Arsene Wenger had no problems when it came to Thierry Henry and all them players. He had no issues dropping them, no issues whatsoever. If Arsene felt that a player was being overplayed and he needed to rest, and he wasn't going to be able to give his full commitment on the pitch, he would bench him, or he would rest him, or he'd take him out the squad. And unfortunately, I've talked about Arteta. This is his 4th year. He's still kind of finding these things. Tactically and his philosophies and everything has been pretty much sound, but when it comes to the player management, that has been questionable. And here it seems like Arteta has done the right thing. So kudos. Look, call it out when he's getting it wrong, which I do, and then when he's getting it on point, you've got to congratulate him. So good call, Arteta. This is something that needed to be done. And this is a big game. This is our biggest game of the year. And as a manager, you've made a statement like that, you know, we are here for the long run. We are here to look after our players, and we don't want to ruin the players. And right now, he's put his foot down, and Saka probably has been all over this. I know he's wanting to play in this game badly. And the boss has said no. The boss has said, no, we're not having it. You're sitting this one out. Rest yourself. And it's good because he can continue to carry on getting those treatments, try and get himself up to 90-95% over the next week. And I don't know what Southgate's going to do with him on the international break. They obviously don't care about anything in terms of the club football or anything like that. Their interest is the national team. So Saka's going to probably play a little part in that, but I'm sure that Edu and Arteta would be having words with Southgate, and I'm gonna wait to see what happens there. But as for today, resting Saka, I think it was the right thing to do. I would have done the same thing, so it would be good to get your thoughts on it. Now back onto this game, I'm not so sure now. I'm still going Manchester City 2-1, but really I can kind of see a draw out of this now, because you're not going to be carrying much players on the team. Jorginho, if he's in a double pivot, it's going to make it really, really difficult for Manchester City. They don't have Rodri, and against Rice and Jorginho, that's going to be a handful. And then they're transitioning to Zinchenko, who's going to be inverted, and Odegaard. So those are going to be the guys that are going to be pulling the strings for Arsenal. I think we might be surprised here. So I'm actually going to change my prediction and go with an Arsenal 2-0 win. And that's going to be it from me, guys. I'll speak to it at half-time, and let's see how far we get with it. Yeah, it's my channel, guys. I'm allowed to change a prediction if I want. All right, I'll speak to you guys at half-time. Nice one. So, guys, just thinking of it, it's the approach that's going to be the real telling factor to this game. And I talk about, first of all, the situation with Zinchenko and Jesus. Now, both of them facing Manchester City for Arsenal is something that we haven't really had the luxury of. There were times when we played them in the FA Cup. Zinchenko didn't take part in that. And obviously Jesus was injured for most of the part of last season. So we haven't really been lucky in that regard. It's never been a situation where both of the players has really been impactful to the game. So that is number one. You know, that's one of the first reasons that I'd like to see today. I'd like to see Zinchenko and Jesus playing the game of their lives and impacting this game in a massive way, trying to get Arsenal over the line, because that's the experience right there. We talk about why we haven't done well against Man City. We talk about the men against boys. We talk about all these different things. As you can see, guys, everybody here still enjoying the game. There's about 45 minutes away from kickoff at the moment, guys. I did have an issue with my ticket, but I had to reinstall the app because my ticket was still saying Arsenal versus Spurs. And normally it always updates every game. So I had to uninstall the app, reinstall it, and then it said Arsenal Man City. So I don't think I had an issue in that regard. So my number two, guys, is your approach to the game. Tactically, and I talked about this when I looked at the team sheet in the car. So tactically, we've always kind of thrown hell for leather. And in the Charity Shield, we didn't do that. In the Charity Shield, we let them come at us a little bit, and then we were able to kind of match them man for man in the midfield. And that's where the real battle was. And I kind of enjoyed that because it was going to and fro. Pep made 2 changes. Tactically, Arteta made 3 changes. And it was that battle with Declan Rice in the middle, Rodri, and them rotating and bringing in extra help for those guys to create overloads and triangles in the midfield. And I really enjoyed that Charity Shield match. I remember after the game when Sky said to Pep Guardiola, sorry, these guys are going off now. They're going off up there. He said it wasn't bad for a friendly, and Pep Guardiola said, who told you that this was a friendly? And that just goes to show you the seriousness of the competitive nature between these two teams. I believe what's just happened here, guys, because when I was doing a video in the car, there was a bunch of Man City fans that was actually walking past me. There was about 100, 200 fans, and they were actually walking past. So the police had been following them to make sure there was no trouble. It looks like the Arsenal fans have seen all these Man City fans, and obviously they're not having it. Arsenal fans do not want to be out crowded and overshouted when it comes to this place. This is our house, and we are the ones that are going to be making all the noise. So that's probably what's happening right now, guys. We've got the boys in blue here. They're trying to make sure everybody's behaving themselves. But yeah, as I said, that tactical aspect, that's the thing that's going to really define this game. How do we approach this game? Do we approach it the same way as we've done in the past? Or do we approach it in the way like we did in the Community Shield? Because in that way, as I said, if it's a midfield battle, then that gives the advantage to a double pivot. Having Jorginho in there with Declan Rice, that really gives Arsenal the strength. And it kind of plays an overload in the fact that Man City don't have Rodri. So you can take advantage with that. So it seems with the team sheet changes that he's exactly done just that. And I believe that that's probably what we're going to see in this game. We're going to see a massive change in regards to the midfield makeup and that battle, running those triangles there and the transitional game. It's a shame we didn't see Partey start, but I believe in the second half, Jorginho's going to make way for Thomas Partey, and then that's going to help to close out this game. Let's have a see how it works out, guys. Speak to you later. So guys, it's half time, it's Arsenal 0, Manchester City 0. Pretty much thought the game was going to go this way, as I talked about in the pre-game. There are things that we need to discuss and talk about, so let's get that done right now. The first thing is right now Arsenal with Arteta has got the power play in the second half, and what you can realistically do here is you can keep recycling the ball in the midfield among Odegaard and Jorginho and Declan Rice. You have two Manchester City players in the midfield on yellow cards. So the recycling and the possession there will allow you to try and let them pick up a second yellow. And that's going to be an advantage for us in order to make an even bigger power play and a stronger finish towards the end of the game. But secondly, guys, what a game this is. From a tactical standpoint, each manager really goading the other manager to come out of their game plan. Each team is having spells of 5 or 6 minutes of pressure and then releasing, then the other team takes over. So it's a very reminiscent game of what happened in the Charity Shield. My biggest issue is Covet's challenge on Declan Rice. That should have been a second yellow card. I've looked at it again. It is late, it's high, and I'm not sure why he gets away with a second yellow on that. So for me, the City should already be down to 10 men. Arsenal, though, really frustrating seems. You can see at times Raya having problems playing the ball out of the back because Man City is sitting on a perch waiting for Arsenal to make a mistake there. Raya has been called into issues twice, so that's on him. But on second times, he's been patient. The fans are not really with that at the moment. When he's held it too long, the fans are getting a bit agitated. But there's times where he's held it long enough for Man City to start to push up a little bit, and he's managed to catch Jesus twice. Great long balls. Now let's remember this, guys. Last season, Raya led the league 118 balls into the final third from the goalkeeper's box. That, by far, was the best in the Premier League. There's no one in the league that can do that as good as Raya. And he's using Jesus on that right-hand side to hit those 70-yard passes over. And what he's doing is completely nullifying the press that Man City have. So that is one reason why you can see Pep Guardiola doesn't want to commit too much men forward, because Raya will attack them in that regard. So this game, guys, it's an absolutely fantastic tactical game to watch. It's really enjoyable. Arsenal really holding themselves well. Odegaard, though, frustrated. He's in those pockets. He's got 10 yards free in front, 10 yards free at the back. He's in those pockets to really make the game happen in transition, and they're not finding him in those pockets. And really, that's got to be on Raya. We've seen Zinchenko angry and waving his hands to say, what are you doing? Hit Odegaard, hit the captain. He's in those pockets, and Raya's just not doing it. So Raya at the moment is 50-50 on his display. But outside of that, guys, I want to see more from Trossard. He's isolated there, not giving you as much as Jesus on the right-hand side. When Trossard has received the ball a couple of times, he's just lost possession. Declan Rice is starting to improve as the game's gone on, and so was Jorginho. I thought Jorginho in the first 20 minutes was poor, but he started to get a handle on the game. Because, guys, look, you're in the double pivot right now against a team that doesn't have Rodri. So you've got the power play, you have to use that. And unfortunately, we've not been doing that towards the second half, towards the second bit of the first half. That's when we started to make that happen, and Arsenal have looked much more progressive in that stance. So let's see where we are at the end of the game, guys, and I'll catch up with you then. Peace out, guys. Right, I better sit down here and see if I can chat to you guys. So today's post-game show comes from the club level. Big shout out to Daniel Millington and the Arteta family as well for allowing me to watch the game with them today. So shout out to everybody. Guys, what a great game, what a great result. And all those things that I talked about at half-time, the tactics, it was such a chess match between both managers. And you could see exactly what Arteta was trying to do. You could see what Pep was trying to do. And as I said, very reminiscent of the Charity Shield game at Wembley. And that game, as I said, was no friendly. And this game pretty much tops it off. And what you've really got to look at is previously before, Arsenal's never had the strength and depth. And then when you can bring those players off the bench, Havertz, 65 million, Thomas Partey, best transitional midfielder in the Premier League. Martinelli, one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League for Arsenal last season. When you're bringing off that impact, everything made the difference. And the goal, it wasn't just the goal, there was the deflection, of course, that made it worthwhile. But they deserved the goal, guys. Jesus was incredible up front in the build-up play. When Havertz came on, it gave them a different dimension up front. They could hold up the ball, they could use Havertz to create space and triangles, and he really worked his socks off. Didn't put a foot wrong. Defensively, there were a few bits here and there, but we were sound, we were rock solid. And you have to give, guys, you have to give Saliba man of the match in this one. He absolutely nullified Haaland for the whole game. They didn't even look close to scoring. So, you know, all credit due to them. Just a fantastic result. Brilliant game, guys. The tactics was like a chess match, and Arsenal go joint top of the league with Spurs. Shame really when you consider that Jesus could have won that game, and then, you know, obviously Jorginho, the goal he gave away. But take nothing away from Arsenal. Arsenal are in the fight for the title this season, and the title starts now. You've made your marker. You've beaten the best team in Europe. You've done it. Yeah, that monkey's off your back. The boys have become men. The statements have been made. Now, there isn't any team in the league that you fear. And Arsenal still unbeaten, guys. Still unbeaten. Domestically, the only team in the country that are unbeaten. But you've made your marker now. Now you can make your run to the title. Now every game is going to start to look much more positive in the eyes of like being able to see the wood through the trees. And you can just make your run at it now. There is no reason now that you cannot put a run together come up to Christmas for this title. It's yours. You can take it. You can grab it. You've got all the accolades to win the title now. Last season was a season that you can reflect on, and that you missed it by the big one. And this season now you can make up for all those things that went wrong last season. Boys become men, and you can make that step towards lifting that title. Just an absolute great game. Brilliant. Arsenal 12 shots. Manchester City just 4 shots in the entire game. Man City 4 shots in the entire game. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Here's the player ratings, and I'll catch up with you in the next one.
I'm tryna be a black king. I'm tryna be a black king. MLK, Jay-Z, MJ. I'm tryna be a black king.